Once bustling with activity, America's ports now stand eerily quiet, a stark contrast to their former glory. Where cranes once moved containers at a rapid pace, there is now an unsettling stillness. This is the harsh reality of the U.S.-China trade war, a conflict that has stifled global commerce and cast a long shadow over the American economy. The statistics paint a grim picture. U.S. imports from China have dropped by a staggering $14 billion, leaving vast dock spaces empty and countless shipping containers idle. Major ports like Los Angeles, Long Beach, and New York, New Jersey, once symbols of American economic strength, now resemble ghost towns, haunted by the trade war's far-reaching consequences. This economic freeze is a direct result of the escalating trade war between the world's two largest economies. Starting in 2018, the Trump administration imposed tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods, prompting a retaliatory response from Beijing. These tariffs, essentially taxes on imports, have increased costs for businesses and consumers, stifled trade, and pushed the global economy to the edge of recession. Against a backdrop of economic instability, a beacon of hope appeared through high-stakes trade negotiations in Geneva, Switzerland. On May 10, 2025, senior officials from the United States and China convened in the neutral Swiss city, aiming to bridge the gap that has separated the two economic giants. Representing the United States was Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, alongside U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer. Leading China's delegation was Vice Premier He Lifeng, an experienced economic strategist. The discussions, held behind closed doors, extended for 8 hours on the first day, with both parties engaging in rigorous negotiations to ease the trade conflict and find mutual agreement. Despite the lengthy talks, no immediate breakthrough was achieved at the Geneva summit. As of Sunday night, May 11th, Beijing time, no agreement had been reached, and discussions continued into Sunday and possibly Monday. The absence of a quick resolution highlighted the profound divisions and entrenched stances that have come to define the U.S.-China trade relationship. The stalemate in Geneva underscores the conflicting goals and viewpoints of the United States and China. Both nations remain steadfast, with public statements highlighting the profound distrust and opposing agendas. Former President Donald Trump, who started the trade war during his term, used his social media platform, Truth Social, to declare a complete overhaul in U.S.-China trade relations. He characterized the Geneva discussions as very productive and claimed great progress made. Yet, his statements were vague and met with doubt by analysts. Chinese state media, which often mirrors the Communist Party's stance, adopted a more guarded approach. Xinhua, a leading state-run news agency, cautioned that compromise would not earn respect. This indicated that China was reluctant to make concessions that might be seen as yielding to U.S. demands. Central to the trade conflict are deep-rooted disagreements over trade imbalances, intellectual property rights, and China's industrial strategies. The U.S. accuses China of engaging in unfair trade practices, such as forced technology transfer and intellectual property theft. Additionally, it aims to address the substantial trade deficit between the two nations. Conversely, China perceives U.S. tariffs as protectionist tactics designed to hinder its economic growth. Beijing insists that these tariffs must be lifted before any substantial trade agreement can be reached. It also seeks broader access to the U.S. market for its products and services. Navigating these intricate issues is a challenging endeavor. Both nations must also address their internal political pressures. The Biden administration is under pressure from labor unions and manufacturers to safeguard American jobs and industries. Meanwhile, China's leaders are cautious about appearing weak on the international stage. Section 5. Shifting sands, reshaping global trade amidst conflict. The U.S.-China trade war has rippled through the global economy, urging businesses to reevaluate their supply chains and compelling countries to take sides. This conflict has hastened the move towards deglobalization, as companies aim to lessen their dependence on Chinese manufacturing and diversify their sources. This pivot from China has opened doors for other emerging markets including Vietnam, India, and Mexico. These nations have experienced a surge in foreign investment as businesses look for alternative production hubs. Nonetheless, no single country can easily match China's vast manufacturing capacity and its pivotal role in global supply chains. The trade war has also revealed the weaknesses of a deeply interconnected global economy. Disruptions to supply chains have resulted in shortages of essential components, production delays, and increased costs for businesses and consumers worldwide. This underscores the necessity for greater resilience and diversification in global trade. Section 6. American businesses and consumers, caught in the crossfire. The trade war has significantly affected American businesses and consumers, disrupting supply chains, increasing prices, and creating uncertainty. Companies dependent on Chinese imports have struggled with tariffs, forcing them to either absorb higher costs, pass them on to consumers, or seek alternative suppliers. Consumers in the U.S. have experienced the trade war's impact through higher prices on a variety of goods, from electronics and appliances to clothing and toys. Tariffs have acted like a regressive tax, hitting lower-income households harder, as they spend a larger share of their income on consumer goods. The trade war has also introduced uncertainty for American businesses, complicating future planning. The unpredictable nature of the conflict has made it difficult for businesses to make long-term investment decisions, resulting in a slowdown in business investment and hiring. Chapter 7. The Future of U.S.-China Trade. A fork in the road. The outlook for U.S.-China trade relations is still up in the air. Although the Geneva talks showed some promise, the absence of a significant breakthrough indicates a challenging road ahead for reconciliation. The two economic powerhouses must decide, continue their confrontation or seek a path of coexistence and cooperation. An all-out trade war would spell disaster for both nations and the global economy. It would result in higher consumer prices, job losses, and slower economic growth. Additionally, it would further fragment the global economy, creating new barriers to trade and investment. Alternatively, they could manage their competition and build a more stable and predictable trade relationship. This would necessitate concessions from both sides and finding common ground on contentious issues like intellectual property rights and market access. It would also require a commitment to ongoing dialogue and diplomacy. Chapter 8. Conclusion. A world intertwined. The U.S.-China trade conflict highlights the deep connections within the global economy. In our globalized world, economic tensions between these two giants have widespread effects, touching businesses, consumers, and livelihoods worldwide. The resolution of this trade dispute will significantly influence the future of global commerce and international relations. A prolonged trade war could result in a more divided and less prosperous world. Conversely, a negotiated agreement could lead to a more stable and cooperative global trade environment. The stakes are immense, and the decisions made by the U.S. and China in the near future will shape the global economic landscape for years to come. The world watches closely, hoping for a resolution that benefits all rather than a descent into mutual loss.